Hey, I'm Mitch Hobbs, ACC driver for Visceral Esports, currently competing in SRO Esports Asia. In this video, we're going to go over my personal favourite tracks and GT3 cars of the SRO Esports Calendar. So you can see we've got a lovely little tier list, give you my personal opinions, and we'll get started straight away. We've got Donington Park. Now, against popular belief, I do actually like Donington Park. It's not great for overtaking, I will admit that, but overall, I think it's a pretty good track, so I'm going to put it in A. Not an S tier track, but I will give it an A. Monza, not, I do like Monza, but for racing purposes, I'm not a real big fan of it, so I think it's probably going to have to go down in C. So I'm not a huge fan of Monza, unfortunately. Circuit of the Americas, also Coda. I don't like Coda very much at all. I've never gotten along with it, and I'm not usually a big fan of driving it, no matter what car I'm in. So that's going to go in D. There's nothing really that we can get around there. Mount Panorama, well, there's a bit of Australian bias here, but I think in general, Mount Panorama's very, nice track, good overtaking opportunities in some sectors, I'll admit. It's tight, requires so much focus, so it's got to go in S tier. It's just a fantastic track overall. Now, Imola, I do like Imola in some parts, but in other places, I really don't like it, especially in some of the GT3 cars. So I'm going to put Imola somewhere in the middle, I think. Indianapolis Motor Speedway, can't see it all here, but it's Indianapolis. I do rate Indy quite highly. A lot of people don't like it because it's flat. It is, but I do like some of the tight, twisty parts of the track, so I'm going to go and put that up in A, just because it provides also some fairly decent racing and overtaking opportunities. Now, Kyle Army, I could talk about this track all day. I do love this track. It's tight, it's fast, great overtaking opportunities, good for some close racing, in my opinion, of course. So I'm going to put that in S tier. There's no real other words to put to that. Barcelona, do like Barcelona a lot. I think it's a very good overall track. Good straight for overtaking. You've got some opportunities within Sector 2 and 3 to get some good overtakes in. It's always very good racing to watch, so I'm going to put that up in A tier. Nürburgring, never been a huge fan of the Nürburgring. I never hated the track, I personally have thought it's always just been a bit of a mid-tier track, so we can just chuck in there. And B, Laguna Seca, again, I've never been a real big fan of Laguna. Had some tight racing there, but I just can never seem to gel with that track. And I think overall it's got obviously the corkscrew, but I think overall I'm going to chuck that in C. Not terrible, but it's not very good. Circuit of Paul Ricard. Now, it always provides really good racing. I really have had a couple of good races on there, but overall for me, I think it's only really a B tier track. Silverstone. Now, this is going to probably upset a few people. I've never really liked Silverstone. Watched racing there. It's good, but I just never really get along with the track, and I don't really like how it runs in GT3 racing in general, so that's going to go down in C. You've got Spa there as well. Spa's a good track. Overall, do I like it? I think it's going to go mid-tier there, just because it's good. It's not bad, but it's not great either, so it can sit in the middle there. We've got Suzuka there. I did this in SROAsia coming up. I do like Suzuka a lot, and there's no real other words. It's just a very famous track. Not a lot of overtaking opportunities as much as people think, but nice sweeping circuit. You've got that crossover through the middle of the circuit, going under and then back over. It's just a classic circuit. You can't really not put it up in S. And then Watkins Glen. Never really been a fan of Watkins, but I can see I do like the flow of it a bit. So I think for that it's going to go in B tier. So there's my ACC SRO Esports track tier list. We're now going to move on to the GT3 tier list. All right, we're here to look at the GT3 cars currently in ACC. For our tier list here, we're going to start with the Audi. Now, I do like the Audi. I've always liked the way that it's driven. It's a bit tougher on this patch, I'll admit, but it's pretty fast in general. So we're going to put that in the A tier. The Porsche, I've never really gelled with the Porsche on this patch. Never liked the lower amount of grip in comparison it has to some of the other cars, but I do like the way it sounds, and it is pretty fast. I'm going to put that mid-tier. Now, the Bentley, people who know me know I've always liked the Bentley, and I wish that it was fast again, or at least somewhat competitive, and I probably would be driving it again. So I'm going to put it in the A tier because it's just an all-round smooth car, nice and stable, and just nice to drive in general. Now, the Mclaren, I've driven this a little bit, probably not as much as most. I do like the way it drives, and it's pretty fast, so I'm going to stick that with the Porsche. Now, the Honda, I've always liked the Honda, driven it quite a few times now. Not as competitive at the moment in some tracks, but I just like the way it drives in general, so it's got to go in S. It's just a great car in general. Ferrari, driving that currently SRO, just a very nice, stable car in general. But what else can I say? It's nice and fast, really suits my driving style. It's just got to go up in S, doesn't it? And the Lambo, yeah, I do like this, but again, I don't think it quite suits my driving style. But, I mean, overall, I wouldn't say no to it. I'm going to put it in B. The Merc, I do like that as well. Nice and stable. It's got good pace overall, so I'm going to put that in the A tier there. Now, the M4, never been a real fan of the M4. I don't really like the way it drives. Sounds a bit boring to me as well. So I think that's going to unfortunately have to go down the bottom because I'm just not a big fan of it. The Aston, it's pretty boring to me, to be honest. Good pace. I sometimes enjoy driving it, but don't really think it's my sort of car, so we're going to chuck it up in the C class. Now, it's time to jump in for a hot lap. You join me here at Donington Park for this week's SROAsia Round 2 for a hot lap. Here we go, down to turn 1 now. Holding fourth, jump down into second, let the coasting do the rotation in the Ferrari, jumping the power nice and early for a good exit, coming down through the right to left before jumping up to the fast right-hander up towards the hill. Let the rotation once again do the work, go on the power as early as possible to keep that minimum speed up, coming down through to the ascent up the hill. Now coming round, hold third, let it rotate again whilst coasting, use all of the track on exit there, and coming through to the blind right-hander over the top now, get on the power as early as possible. The rear end tried to get away a bit, so a bit of input needed. Coming down to the chicane now, going to hold third where needed. Make sure the car glides through there nicely, let the suspension do all of the work. Nicely done using all the track there. Coming down to the Melbourne hairpin, going to drop it down to first to get the engine braking as effective as possible. Coming up to the final corner now, going to hold third. Broke a little bit too early, but saved it with a nice exit with the TC adjustment again. And come across the line for a 25.9.